I was sitting there laying on the couch like I was freaking out. I had my curtains open and everything. I'm like, I ain't dying today. Leatherface ain't getting me today. I am about to watch for the first time the horror classic from 1974, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. Not the remakes, not the prequels, equals, whatever. The OG, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This film has been on my radar for years. I've been wanting to watch it for years. And now I got it on glorious 4K from Dark Skies Films. And I can't wait to watch it. It's a film I've also been afraid to watch because I got a weak stomach. I get afraid in anything. I hate jump scares. I hate that stuff. I'm learning to love horror films, but I love more of atmospheric horror than, boom horror. You know what I mean? I hear, I hear that this film is gruesome, but not as gruesome as the reputation that's given to it. That it's more of a suggestion of horror than literal horror. I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I'm gonna go sit down. I'm gonna watch it right now, and I'm gonna get back to you. I'm so excited, and stay tuned to hear my thoughts. All right, wish me luck.
The film which you are about to see is an account of the tragedy which befell a group of 5 youths, in particular Sally Hardesty and her invalid brother Franklin. It is all the more tragic in that they were young, but had they lived very, very long lives, they could not have expected, nor would they have wished to see as much of the mad and macabre as they were to see that day. For them, an idyllic summer afternoon drive became a nightmare. The events of that day were to lead to the discovery of one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
All right, I just got done watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I gotta say, it was quite a watch. The first 30 minutes, I was kind of filled with anxiety, and that because I had no idea what to expect. Even though I was told exactly what to expect. Now, like you heard in the first part, I heard this film is, quite brutal. But it's not really visceral. You don't really see the blood, guts, the horror of the kills. You don't. You don't really see it. The first couple of kills is kind of a jump scare, but not really. Leatherface comes out, the score shrieks, and he kills the people with a hammer. But he's kind of afar. He's not. It's not really in your face jump scare. He's over there with the jump scare. And that helped me, right? Because I was filled with anxiety and I was kind of put at ease. And I was able just to vibe out and enjoy the film, enjoy the atmosphere, which this film excels in. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a masterpiece in the horror vibes. The costume direction, the art direction is amazing, and I understand why there's so many insert shots. Like when one of the girls goes into the house and she falls into the room, and it's like almost a montage of what's in the room, or the opening scene where you're on a close up of the skeleton and you just zoom out to see it, right? Or the furniture of the Sawyer house. It's amazing. It's breathtaking. And how pristine the house looks on the outside. And then once you get inside, it's a whole other story. it's amazing. It's storytelling. Looks can be deceiving, which happens in the film. You know, the first family member of the Sawyer family we meet is the gas owner, the gas station owner, and he seems like a good man. He's telling them, "Hey, don't go mess him anywhere. Don't go mess him anywhere." And then at the end, when Sally is running for her life from Leatherface, she runs to the gas station and she's like, "I finally found someone that helps me." And then he comes in with the rope in the bag. And then she knows. She knows what's going to happen. Even though the horror isn't visceral, it's still there. It's still chilling. It still is a horrifying film. Now let's talk about the characters. We have, like 5 main characters. 3 men, 2 women. And I believe his name was Frankie, one of the 2. He was in a wheelchair, which is so inspired of a choice because that character is instantly vulnerable. But he's also the most unlikable character in the film. So when he dies, you're like, all right, you know, I didn't like him anyway. Sounds awful to hear. You know, there's a scene where the cast is going into this the grandpa's house of 2 of the characters, Frankie and Sally, or Franklin and Sally, and Franklin is stuck downstairs because he's in a wheelchair. And he's listening, they're all having fun, hooting and hollering, and he's like downstairs, you know, spitting with his tongue out, and he's just so jealous of everyone having fun, and he's mocking them. And, you know, you do kind of feel bad, right? But if you watch one of the commentaries on this here, the Tobe Hooper talks about how that actor was actually pretty insufferable. So he was commenting on how fun it was shooting those scenes because he could watch this person he didn't like in real life get, struggle. And I think everybody struggled making this film because it was just, so hot. And you can see the heat in each shot. You can see the heat. This was shot in 16 millimeter and blown up to 35, but man, the highlights are blown out. When you're in the car, you know what? It may not even be driving because how blown out the windows are. But you don't care because the feeling of the film is there. The characters are right. Sally, she's the main character, and her brother is the other main character. And all the other ones, they're just kind of flavor. I think the character work could have been done a little better, but as a human being watching these kids who, are just on a road trip or something, or it's very similar to the beginning of Night of the Living Dead where Night of the Living Dead, they go to the grave to see the grandfather, and they go to a graveyard to see, I think their uncle is still there, or grandfather, I can't remember. I know it was the grandfather's mansion or house, but I think it was check on their uncle's grave. Oh, and you don't see the grave, but in spirit, independent horror here, Night of the Living Dead, OG independent horror, continuing that legacy of opening in a cemetery. Yeah, so the main cast is all right. But the showstoppers are the Sawyer family. When I saw Grandpa move, I was like, what? I was in total shock. I did not believe this was a person, that this person was alive. I thought it was just a corpse. And when you see the gas tenant as they say the brother, but he could be the father maybe, I'm guessing, but they say he's the brother. Be a bad guy, but then he's kind of not a bad guy because he's like, let's stop playing with her and get it over with. And then we find out the hitchhiker was part of the family, which, that was not really shocking, but the brother, the hitchhiker, and Leatherface are known as like the ones that do the killings, right? They're the ones who get their hands dirty because this is a family of cannibals, which that really isn't really mentioned in the film, because Tobe Hooper said he is trying to get a PG rating, which I don't know what rating this got. I got R. You didn't do a good job, Tobe Hooper. But you do see the kills of the I don't know, of the teenagers, of the young adults in the freezer. So there is that. I don't know what else I gotta say about this film. I would just have to say to everybody who was like me, who was hesitant to watch this, I've known about this film my whole life, and I've never seen it. I haven't seen any of the remakes, sequels, seen nothing. I was waiting to see this one first. Maybe I'll see the other two. I like Tobe Hooper, and allegedly he did, or allegedly not did, I should say, Poltergeist. But I love Poltergeist. One of my favorite family horror films. And I want to check more of his work, like The Funhouse and Salem's Lot. But again, going back before I ramble, if you're like me and you hear how good this film is, and you're not really a horror fan, and you're gonna watch this film with this anxiety, and that's fine. You're supposed to have anxiety when you watch horror films. It heightens it. It heightens your experience. I was sitting there laying on the couch, like I was freaking out. I had my curtains open and everything. I'm like, I ain't dying today. Leatherface ain't getting me today. But if you're like me, just know that the horror's there, the atmosphere's there, but it's not like, say, Saw, right? Or any of like the French extremity films. It's not Martyrs. It's not anything like that. You don't gotta be too afraid. I had the same experience with The Exorcist. I had to watch The Exorcist twice before I could fully appreciate it. I'm sitting there for 2 hours waiting for the shoe to drop, and the shoe never dropped. So I wasn't watching The Exorcist with a full frame of mind, with unbiased. I was thinking it like a Conjuring film, jump scare. And these films are not like that. They're slow burns, right? Slow burns. And that's beautiful. I love that. I love it. It just brings you to the world, just like how The Exorcist did. And again, I did appreciate this on a first viewing, but I do definitely need to see it again, because obviously I missed some details. But this is a great film. If you don't think me as a humble reviewer, recommendation, first time watcher, Quentin Tarantino says it's one of the greatest films of all time. It's perfect. He says it's perfect. I don't think it's perfect. Like I said, the characters are all right. For a horror film of this era, being independent, the characters are good. There is the standard, which is Night of the Living Dead. That is the standard for characters in a horror film, of a indie horror film, or any horror film. I think the character dynamic between all the characters there, and the conflict is great. And then you jump to this, and the character dynamic is all right. Like I said, the most interesting character is the character in the wheelchair, because he's in a wheelchair. Like, that's an awful situation to be in when you're in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And then after this, you have, of course, probably several horror independent films. I don't know, but obviously you have Halloween, which then redefined everything, and the characters are pretty great. At least the Laurie Strode character is pretty great. And then after that, you have Evil Dead, and again, those characters are really paper thin. But then Sam Raimi and his team, with the camera work and the scares and the blood and guts and the animation, really elevates that film. So, if you're a history buff, if you want to get your, horror history up, you gotta watch this. This is an important horror film. This is an important film in general. If you're an independent film cinema fan, if you're a filmmaker, you need to watch this. This is filmmaking 101. Again, I said the character needs some work, but the villains are great. That ending at the Sawyer family and Sally's just screaming the whole time is phenomenal. That when they pick up the hitchhiker, that's fun. That whole stuff is phenomenal. I don't know how long that goes for, but it goes for a while, and it's great. You know, that the Drifter is so good. Hitchhiker is so good. I love it. I'm sorry to see what happened to him. No, I'm not. Just I guess we gotta say that very ending. I've never seen someone fight so much. Not fight like punching back, but trying to escape. Sally really, really, you know, she really wanted to get out of there. At the end, she jumped through windows and she almost got hit by a car and she was stopping. And, it was so amazing, And then that ending with Leatherface dancing and Sally laughing and crying. Like, it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. It's cinema. This film is cinema. Tobe Hooper, thank you for making this film. Everyone who's in it, thank you for making it. Is it one of my favorite films of all time right now? No, but I definitely appreciate it, and I definitely enjoy it, and I will watch it again. I got it on 4K, I believe, by Dark Skies Films, and it's beautiful. It's grainy as heck. I love it. The colors pop. The highlights are blown, but in the shadows, because this is actually very dark filming scenes, right? In the shadows, the shadows are still there. You can the detail is still there. I distinctly think about a scene when Franklin goes into the house and he's rolling, and it's basically no light on his face, but you can still see the detail. It's a beautiful film. You should check it out. I spoiled most of it, but you should check it out anyway. Knowing will help you. If you're not a horror fan, knowing what happens will help you. I'm telling you. Or you'll hate it. I don't know. I'm just a guy with a video camera. But yeah, I highly recommend the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But I'm Jack from Manelli Studio Entertainment. I'm trying this new anamorphic lens I got. I have no idea if this will work, but let me know if it's working. I don't know. Do you like it? Is it different? I know I got the white wall behind me, not really cinematic, but I really wasn't thinking about it too much. I really want to get my camera out and talk. I know I'm wearing this. Maybe it's not the best idea. I'm blending too much into the wall, but maybe I'm just a floating head. I don't know. But yeah, guys, that was a fun video. I'm so happy I was finally able to see this film. It's been a long time since I've wanted to. It's a big check mark off my films that I need to watch. I'm an independent filmmaker myself, so I need to watch these successful independent films to give me an idea how my forefathers made their films. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jack from Manelli Studio Entertainment. Please subscribe and comment down below if you have seen this film and what you think about this film. I would love to know. I would love to hear your opinion. I want to start a chat between us, a dialogue. And if you really want to be nice, hit that thumbs up. With that being said, I'm Jack, Manelli Studio Entertainment, saying Happy Halloween. See you guys.